Hey YouTube, Brian LCS. Thanks for stopping by the channel and this video, what makes a good comic book story? Now, as a writer of comic books myself, I've done 2 issues of my very own comic, The Doctor. I should understand what goes into a good story. But I have limited experience as a writer of comic books, and I have a lot more experience as a reader. So I want to share with you 5 elements that make up a great comic book story today. Now, there are going to be some links down in the description. There are some other content creators, Reggie&x being one of them, who actually started this topic and discussion and asked some other creators to create a video, me being one of them. So I'll have some links down below. Please go check out Reggie's video and some of the other videos as well as they discuss this topic. And throughout the discussion of this topic today, I'll be popping up some covers of comic books to illustrate some of the favorite stories that fall into these categories that we're talking about. A good story typically has several key elements that make it engaging, memorable, and impactful. The first thing that a compelling comic book story should have is strong characters, right? A character that is relatable, maybe even a little bit complex, but needs to feel real, have strength, weaknesses, and some growth, some personal growth throughout the story. Readers and viewers should care about what happens to this character. A compelling comic book story also needs to have a well-developed villain. Let's call it a good bad guy, right? And he simply doesn't need to be evil. He needs to have understandable motivations, even if they don't line up with the hero, right? And that creates that conflict between the two. My second thing that makes a good comic book story is having that emotional connection. I think of my favorite character, Spider-Man. I had an emotional connection with him when I first read his story. Him struggling as a teenager, being accepted with friends, high school friends, and the fact that I lived in New York and proximity to where his character grew up in Queens and New York City. So you need to have that type of connection. Oftentimes, the connection to certain themes within a story help. Could be love, could be fear, could be loss, could be hope. That allows the audience to connect with these different feelings and different things that may be going on in their own life. You need character growth as well. Characters, especially the hero, should face challenges and evolve to overcome those over time. The number 3 thing that helps make a comic book story good is an engaging plot, right? There has to be clear conflict. A good story presents a central conflict or problem that drives the story along. The hero should face challenges, stakes should feel high, and there often should be like a clear goal that they're trying to achieve. A good comic book story should not be too wordy. There should be a good balance of dialogue and action, and it shouldn't feel like a chore to get through to the end of the story. The story needs to have good pacing. The plot is moving along, not too slow, not too fast, kind of just right. The story should also have twists and surprises, things that you would not normally, kind of think about in the story, and it kind of twists and takes you in a different direction. Number 4 should be world building and setting. Think about that from like a Marvel perspective, the multiverse and the different universes that they have, and even just the universe that they've created where all these heroes exist. You think of DC's world building with Gotham City, Metropolis, and the different elements in those cities. They don't even call it New York City, right? I always thought of Gotham City as New York City, but they have set it up with their own set of parameters within. And oftentimes a good comic book story is set in a world that's nothing like our own. And it has its own rules, history, and logic. And that can really help drive a story when you create this immersive world. Think of Star Wars, for example, the outer space and the different rules, Jedi, Sith, good versus evil, and this entire world and universe that they've created with, an extended universe of characters. And my fifth item that a good comic book story should have is conflict and resolution, right? The story needs to have rising action. There needs to be some climax that happens, and the hero faces his greatest challenge, and then there's some outcome of that challenge. And the conclusion should be satisfying. While not every story will have a happy ending, it should have some resolution to the things that were asked in the early parts of the story, and achieving its goal at the end of the story. So YouTube, those are my 5 elements that make up a good comic book story. What other things would you include? Let me know down in the comments what makes a good comic book story for you as a reader. And, what would you include that I didn't in my video here today? But that's what I got for you. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the comments.